Let me hit you with the truth most people run from. You are weak because you're too distracted, too consumed with what they think, what they do, what they say. You've given everyone else a seat at the table of your mind, but you forgot to save one for yourself. You will never become mentally strong until you stop bleeding energy on the irrelevant, the gossip, the comparisons, the need to be understood by people who don't even understand themselves. Greatness does not grow in crowded minds. It grows in silence, in solitude, in focus. You've been trained to care too much about the external, and in doing so, you've abandoned the internal, which is the only battlefield that ever mattered. The man who masters his mind cannot be broken by the world, but the man who seeks validation from the world will always live at its mercy. So I ask you, when was the last time you sat with your own thoughts, without distraction, without noise, without performance? Because that's where your strength is hiding, in the quiet place you keep avoiding, in the mirror you refuse to face, in the uncomfortable truth you keep postponing. You're not here to be liked. You're here to become unshakable. And that journey begins the moment you stop looking outward and start building within. There is a silence that sharpens you, a stillness that does not comfort but cuts, carving away the falsehoods, the ego, the mask. Most people run from that silence. They drown it in entertainment. They suffocate it with busyness. They sedate it with cheap dopamine and digital applause. But you were not made for sedation. You were made for sovereignty. And that begins by facing the raw, uncomfortable truth. You've outsourced your self-worth. You've leased your identity to opinions. You've allowed the noise of others to muffle your inner voice. You want to be mentally strong? Then stop letting people who haven't built anything destroy what you're trying to create. Every time you chase their approval, you trade your power for permission. Every time you explain yourself to be accepted, you chip away at your own conviction. True strength doesn't need applause. It doesn't explain. It doesn't seek to be seen. It builds quietly. It suffers willingly. It sharpens itself in isolation until one day it walks out unrecognizable. Not because it wanted to impress, but because it had become. Become what the world tried to talk it out of. Become what the old self was too afraid to reach for. That version of you exists. But it will only be unlocked when you shut the door to the world and open the gate within. You must focus. And focus isn't a productivity hack. It's a declaration of who matters most. And right now, that answer must be you. You cannot build strength in public the way you build it in private. The world sees the glow, but it never sees the grind. And that's exactly how it should be. Mental toughness is not built by being seen. It's built by what you do when no one is watching. When the alarm goes off and you rise before the sun, when the doubt creeps in and you still move forward, when no one claps, no one calls, and no one cares, and yet you keep showing up. This is where strength is forged. In repetition, in resistance, in radical self-responsibility. The weak want comfort, the strong want clarity, and clarity demands that you cut away everything that isn't aligned with the highest version of you. Every wasted conversation, every empty habit, every thought that shrinks you, gone. You must become ruthless with your focus, not cruel. Ruthless. There's a difference. Cruelty is directed outward. Ruthlessness is directed inward. It says, I will no longer tolerate weakness in my thinking. It says, if this does not build me, it will not touch me. It says, I choose discipline over distraction every single time. And that's where the shift begins. Because when you stop chasing noise, you start hearing truth. And that truth says, you don't need them. You don't need approval. You don't need to perform. You need to focus. You need to build. You need to become. The world will catch up later. There's a sacred place very few will go, and even fewer will endure. It's the realm of complete self-reliance, where no one is clapping, no one is calling your name, and every ounce of motivation must be summoned from within. It is here that warriors are made, because when the noise dies, your inner voice either rises or it breaks. And if it breaks, it's because you were never listening to it in the first place. Let me tell you something that will offend the average man. You do not need a support system. You need a spine. You need a mind that can't be bought, a focus that can't be shaken, and a spirit that answers only to the call of your future. Isolation is not punishment. It is preparation. You learn who you are when there is no one to impress. You find out what you believe when no one is feeding you opinions. You discover what you're made of when the world forgets you exist, and you still choose to build. Most people crumble in silence, but not you. You were born to rise in it, because the man who trains in solitude walks into the world undefeated, not because the world is easy, but because his mind is unshakable. He does not react. He decides. He does not chase noise. He listens to signal. He does not fold under pressure. He forges pressure into power. You must become this kind of man or this kind of woman, not because it's popular, but because it's necessary. Because the moment you stop needing others to see you, you begin to see yourself more clearly than ever before. And from that clarity comes conviction. And from that conviction comes power. The kind of power that cannot be taken, only earned. There comes a moment in every life, a razor's edge moment, where you are forced to choose. Continue as the person you've always been, or become the person you were born to be. That moment is not loud. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or praise. It comes in silence. It comes in fatigue. It comes in the middle of a routine morning when something inside you finally says, enough. Enough weakness, enough fear, enough compromise, enough explaining, justifying, shrinking, waiting. And in that moment, if you are still enough, if you are brave enough, you will feel it. The old identity cracking, the old self begging to hold on. But it must die, not because it was evil, but because it was small. And dreams do not belong to the small. They belong to the disciplined, the ones who have trained their minds to obey purpose instead of mood. That's what mental strength is. It's not just about holding on. It's about letting go of who you no longer need to be. You cannot walk into your future carrying the corpse of your past. You cannot rise while dragging doubt behind you like chains. So burn it. Burn the excuses. Burn the stories. Burn the narrative that says you can't, because every time you repeat it, you rehearse your own defeat. But now is different. Now you're watching. Now you're listening. Now you are aware. And awareness is the beginning of transformation. But only if you act. Only if you focus. Only if you start treating your mind like sacred ground. No more weeds. No more invaders. No more distractions dressed up as duty. You own this mind, so take it back. The mind is not a playground. It is a battlefield. And every thought is a soldier, either fighting for your future or fighting against it. So you tell me, who's winning in your mind right now? Because if you are not training your thoughts, then your thoughts are training you. They are shaping your reality. They are scripting your days. They are deciding your limits long before you ever take a single action. And this is the greatest tragedy. Not what the world said, not what your parents believed, but what you keep saying to yourself in the dark. You want to be mentally stronger? Then speak like someone who's already won. Think like someone who doesn't beg, but builds. Walk like someone who knows their future is inevitable because they made it non-negotiable. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. When your mind is aligned with your mission, you become unshakable. You stop explaining your vision to small minds. You stop proving yourself to people who quit on their own dreams. And you focus. You focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Every ounce of energy you waste doubting yourself is energy stolen from the life you were meant to live. So from this moment on, Guard your mind like a fortress. Protect your thoughts like gold. And when fear knocks, answer with discipline. When doubt whispers, respond with action. Because nothing builds strength faster than doing what your weaker self thought you couldn't. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. That's how you win, not in noise, but in silence, in solitude, in the sacred space where you decide, I will never be the same again. There is a moment, a shift so quiet, so internal, the world won't even notice it. But you will. It's the moment you stop asking and start declaring. When you stop hoping for strength and begin embodying it, you no longer need to scream. You no longer need to explain. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It simply walks into the room and everything changes. That's the kind of power that is born when you focus solely on you. Not from a place of selfishness, but from a place of sacred responsibility. Because no one is coming to rescue you. No one is coming to unlock your potential for you. And no one has the right to hold your mind hostage unless you hand them the key. You must become the guardian of your own evolution, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, but now. Because the delay is costing you everything. Every excuse is a thief. Every distraction is a detour. And every wasted hour is a brick removed from the foundation of the life you could have built. You want to be mentally stronger? Then choose it. Not once, but every time. Every time you're tired, choose discipline. Every time you're doubted, choose belief. Every time you're triggered, choose stillness. This is the path. It is not easy, but it is simple, and it is yours. When you walk it long enough, something profound happens. You stop flinching, you stop reacting, you stop folding under pressure, because you've seen who you really are. You've met the version of you that does not bow to chaos. He commands it. She shapes it. They mold the storm into structure. And from structure, they build a destiny no man can take. This is what happens when you finally, completely, unapologetically focus on yourself. There is a fire the world cannot see. It burns in the hearts of the few who dared to go inward, who stripped away distraction, destroyed excuses, and made the decision to become whole. You feel that fire now, don't you? That subtle shift inside you, that tightening of resolve, that voice, quiet but unrelenting, telling you this life of yours is not meant to be average, not meant to be reactive, not meant to be dictated by other people's weakness. Number you are here to become a force, not for applause, not for validation, but because something inside you refuses to die with potential still in its lungs. Focus on yourself, not because it's a trend, but because it is the only way to find the truth of who you are, the truth of what you're capable of, the truth of how powerful your mind becomes when you finally stop handing it over to people who haven't even mastered their own. You have no business worrying about their opinions when your purpose is still waiting for you to show up. You see, the stronger you get internally, the quieter you become externally. You don't need to prove anything. You are the proof. Your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. Your focus intimidates the scattered. Your discipline humiliates the comfortable. Your presence convicts the lazy. Because they feel, without you saying a word, that you are living by a code they're too afraid to adopt. And that code is this: I will not betray myself for comfort, for noise, or for approval. Because every time I do, I weaken the part of me that is here to rise. So now, you choose. You decide what kind of person you will be when no one is watching. You decide what kind of mind you will sculpt in silence. And you decide what kind of legacy you're going to leave behind. You don't owe the world your time. You owe yourself your full power. And the only way to access it is to focus like your soul depends on it. Because it does. This is it, the line in the sand. The moment you either become the architect of your destiny or remain the prisoner of your distractions. You've heard the voice within, not the noisy one, full of doubt and past regrets. I mean the true voice, the one that only speaks when you're finally quiet enough to listen. That voice has been waiting waiting for you to stop outsourcing your power, waiting for you to stop explaining your mediocrity, waiting for you to stop betraying the future with the habits of your past. Because the truth, you are not weak. You are not broken. You are not here to blend in, fit in, or water yourself down to comfort the fragile. You are here to build, to sharpen your mind into a weapon of vision, to forge a life so aligned with your purpose that anything less becomes unbearable. But none of that can happen while your focus is scattered. None of that is possible while your identity is attached to people who gave up on themselves. And none of it will ever happen until you decide to place your attention where it belongs, on yourself. Don't wait, don't ask, don't hope. Choose. Choose to protect your thoughts like royalty. Choose to act like your time is sacred, because it is. Choose to remove every voice, every habit, every distraction that weakens your mind, and then rise. Rise with silence as your strength, with discipline as your armor, with focus as your power, because the world will bend for the man who bends himself first. It will rise for the woman who rose alone. It will open for the soul who shut out the noise and listened to the fire inside. So I leave you with this. Stop waiting. Start building. And never again look outside for the power that was always within. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the Rise button now to subscribe and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.